Hello and welcome to episode 10 of my knitting podcast. Let's dive right in because I am so excited to share my finished object as well as my works in progress and some acquisitions with you. So let's talk about the elephant in the room first, which is my finished object, and it is the Hilja Dress by Ronja Hakalehto. Let me stand up so that you'll be able to see it. So as you might be able to tell, I'm very pleased with how the dress came out. Ronja Hakalehto is the designer and she released this beautiful pattern in May of this year. And as soon as I saw it, I knew that I had to make it. I purchased this right away and I absolutely love the look of it. The yarn I used for my version is the one that she also used for her sample, so the Holst-Garn Coast, which is a blend of cotton and wool. I personally think it is very comfortable to wear, but I'm also not very sensitive towards rustic yarns. I would not say it is a rustic yarn per se, but if you are very sensitive to the softness of yarns, I would not recommend this yarn. But if you are not, I think this is a very awesome, affordable option. It comes in a ton of different colorways, and I found it very hard to choose colors for this dress because there are just way too many beautiful options. In the end, I decided to mull two colorways together. So the ones that I used are called Nimbus and Sapphire. I actually saw this combination on Ravelry from a user called, I think, Volmaus Claudia, and she used this exact combination to knit a sweater for herself, and I really liked the effect it made, so I ordered the same yarns, and I was able to knit this almost up to my knee length dress in the second to smallest size with only 300 grams of yarn. So I ordered 3 skeins of each colorway. This was a bit of a yarn chicken game again, because in the pattern Ronja Hakalehto calls for 7 skeins if you knit the second to smallest size. But I just figured that I would, since it's knitted top down, just start and knit the skirt down as far as I could and then see if I would be happy with the length and then just bind off, or if it would be a bit too short. And I'm absolutely happy with the length I got, so I don't have much yarn left, but I think it is totally fine like that, and this was the length I was going for anyway. So this is how much yarn I have left. I even started unraveling my swatch, but yeah, I really like to use up as much of the yarns as possible because not only is it more sustainable, it also means that I don't have to keep like remnants in my stash that I don't really know what to do with. I did not get gauge when I used the recommended needle size, although I used the same yarn. So I went up a needle size and I knitted the majority of the dress with a 4.5mm needle, which corresponds to a US 7. And I went down to a 3.5mm needle for the hem and the neckband and button band, so all the ribbing basically. All right, let's talk about the modifications that I made to the dress. So I did knit, I think, either 1 or 2 fewer rounds, both for the neckband as well as the sleeve opening, because I just felt it would look too wide otherwise. And I also modified the button band. So in the pattern, Ronja Hakalehto tells you to knit the neckband first and then do the button band. But if you do it that way, you will have like an unfinished edge here, because you will pick up stitches for the button band along here. And at first I did it like she wrote it in the pattern, but I didn't really like it. So I ripped everything back and then I did the button band first and just afterwards picked up stitches all along here for the neckband. And I personally think that the finish is a lot nicer because everything is finished now with an Icelandic bind-off, which is my favorite kind of bind-off. And I am also not very happy with the way the button band looks down here. So the way she writes it in the pattern is that you, like I said, pick up stitches here and later on sew this opening or this side of the button band just down to the main body part. And I don't know, maybe it's just because I didn't do a very good job here, but I think it looks just a bit messy, and I don't know, I think it could have been a bit nicer. The other modification I made is to the hem. So in the pattern she calls for a couple of rounds of 1x1 ribbing, and also with a smaller needle size, so this just slightly pulls it in, and I really like this like more flowy kind of skirt, so I opted to do a folded hem. I hope you can see that. Let me show you the inside as well. So what I did is that I knitted one round of purl stitches and then went down, what needle size did I use? I think a 3.5mm needle, and knitted a couple of rounds of stockinette stitch and then folded it down and just sewed it down with a sewing needle. And I really like the look of this hem because you have just this slightly showing line down here, and I think it looks very pretty. So this is the only finished object I have for this episode, but since this is a dress, there is quite a lot of knitting in it, and I'm very, very happy that I finished it just in time to enjoy some late summer days with this dress. So the next work in progress is one that you have not seen before, and it is another dress, but not for myself. So this dress is called the Peachy Keen dress by Shayna Bilo, and it is a girl's dress that I'm knitting for my older daughter. She is 10, and I'm making the largest size, which is 8 to 10 years, but I took her measurements and I had a look at the finished measurements in the pattern, and I think the 8 to 10 years size will fit her really well. But she is trying the dress on as I go to make sure that there is still a little bit room for her to grow in and also wear it next year, and ideally also the year afterwards. So let me think. The yarn I am using is no surprise if you have seen some of my previous episodes. So whenever I do knit a dress for a child, I like to use a 100% cotton yarn. And I specifically like the Sheepius Sunkissed line. I have used this yarn for many dresses before. I think this is dress number 5 that I'm knitting with this yarn. And this is the colorway Beach Hut Green, I think. No, Beach Hut Blue. And I ordered 8 balls, but this will be plenty. I think I'm on ball number 6 right now, and I'm almost at the point where I'm going to split for the armholes, and since this is a sleeveless dress, I think I will not need at least the 8th ball, and maybe not even ball number 7. We'll see. I really like this project. It is very mindless. There's just miles and miles of stockinette, but I always like to have a mindless project like this on the needles at all times, ideally. So let me show you a bit more details of this dress. You start with this beautiful seed stitch band, and you have another seed stitch band here at the hip or waist, however you like to wear the dress. My daughter wants to wear it with this band at the waist, and yeah, the rest is just stockinette so far. But like I said, I'm really loving it. Although it is a cotton yarn, I think it's all right to use. My hands are not very affected by it in any negative way. I know a lot of people don't really like knitting with plant-based fibers because the yarn does not have as much give as a wool fiber. I think it's fine. Let me see if I can show you. It has a little bit of give, not much, but yeah, like I said, personally, I don't really mind. But if I would have to choose, I think I would also prefer a wool yarn. But for this, it's completely fine. And since my daughter is already 10, I'm not sure how much more time I have until she does not want to wear anything handmade from me anymore. So whenever she asks me for something, I like to cast it on immediately, because I know there is not much time left until she's a teenager and probably will refuse to wear my handmade items. So the needle size I'm using is a 3.25mm needle, which corresponds to a US 3. And my gauge is completely different than the one in the pattern. So I think the pattern calls for 18 stitches per 10 centimeters or 4 inches, and my gauge is 23 stitches. So I basically had to recalculate the number of stitches to cast on, and also the number of rounds I'm knitting for those bands. And I do this by simply using the rule of 3. And if you are not sure how to recalculate patterns to fit your gauge, I filmed an entire video about that, which I'm going to link for you in case you're interested. Overall, this is a very nice project. I enjoy working on it, but I'm also looking forward to finishing it soon so that she will be able to get somewhere out of it this year. Alright, so the next work in progress is a bit of a sad story, and it is my Maeron Sweater by Natasha Hornby from Moonstruck Knits. I absolutely adore this pattern and I would love to have this sweater, but I did really mess up. So this is the first half of the sweater. The sweater is knitted sideways. You start at the shoulder here and then knit the body, and so the front and the back, and then you do the sleeve. And I had completed the left side weeks or even months ago at this point, and then I started on the what I thought would be the other side, so the right side. But can you see what I did? I accidentally knit another left side, and I almost finished the body until I noticed it. So I cast on and I knit the back and the front, and then I realized I have two sweater halves that are the same, and I just cannot simply reverse it because the front is lower than the back. So I will have to unpick everything up to where I split for the front and back, which is somewhat here, and then I have to re-knit all of this and all of this. And I was so annoyed with myself when I noticed it that I completely abandoned this whip and instead cast on the Peachy dress for my daughter instead. And I'm so bummed because I was so excited that I was almost done with the body and just had the sleeve left to go and the bottom hem and the neckband, and then I would be finished and could wear this sweater just in time for fall, and now I have to undo it. I know that's just how it goes sometimes, but I'm still very bummed about myself and annoyed that I just didn't notice it. Just a couple more stats about this sweater knitting project in case you have not seen the previous episodes. I am holding the yarn double and I'm knitting the smallest size. The yarn I'm using is Wool Dreamers Saona in the colorways Ozetter and 1985. I really like the yarns. It is a blend of cotton and wool. And I also really like the pattern, and the construction is so interesting with this knitting sideways, and this is all done by mosaic knitting, so no stranded color work, which I think is very enjoyable. And I also really like the texture of these flower motifs and everything about the sweater. But yeah, I think I just had to give myself a little break from it, and just talking about it now, I feel like I'm getting excited again, and I will start unraveling it soon and then reknitting it and hopefully be done with it soon in time for me to wear it this fall. And I think it's going to be an awesome addition to my wardrobe. let's move on to a pair of socks, and you have also seen these socks before. Those are my handspun socks, and I was able to finish the first one. Let me give you a look. So you have these stripes in those beautiful autumnal colors. This is made out of a sock set from Frau Wölfchen. It is a 100% South down fiber in the colorway Melancholie, which means melancholy in English. So I ordered these fibers and then I spun them up into a 3-ply yarn. So I did a chain ply, and this is how it came out. I just managed to spin the second half of the set. So the sock set comes with 2 braids, which are 75 grams each. And at first I only spun the first braid, and I was so excited that I immediately started knitting with it. And then I spun the second braid. And what I did is that I simply split the braid into 4 equal parts widthwise to get this striping effect. And this is how much yarn I have left from knitting the first sock. So just a couple of grams. And like I said, this is the second braid, and I will soon cast on for the second sock. Did I tell you the pattern? I think I didn't. So the pattern I use is a very simple 3x1 ribbing, and this is one of my own knitting patterns called the Happiness All Around Socks. And the pattern is originally written for a fingering weight yarn, and this is much thicker because I'm still very much a newer spinner and I'm just not able to spin very fine yarns, especially not if I 3-ply them afterwards. So in order to compensate for the thicker yarn, I casted on 44 stitches instead of 60 stitches, which would be the smallest size in the pattern. And they fit quite well, and I'm very happy with them. They have a classic heel flap and gusset construction, and my favorite toe, which looks like this. And since I always like to have a sock on the needle at pretty much at all times, and I was not yet done spinning the second braid of the South Down sock set by Frau Wölfchen, I cast it on for another sock, and this is how far I have gotten. Oops, let me see if I can show you. So this is the cuff and a little bit of the leg of the Astrid Socks. So this is another one of my own designs. It is named after my mother, who is called Astrid. And I originally made the very first sample for her just in time for her birthday. I'm going to put up a picture for you so that you can see how those originally look like. But these ones I'm making for my younger daughter, and she picked out the yarns. So I'm using this very bright yellow, which is Mondim by Retrosaria Rosa Pomar from Lisbon, Portugal, which we had the chance to visit, I think in April. And then my daughter picked out this bright yellow yarn. I already made a pair of fingerless mitts for her, but there was so much left over that she also asked for a pair of socks. And I combined it because she requested it with one of my handspun yarns. So this is a merino silk blend from Yara Fibers, which I purchased off of Etsy. This was just, I think, 50 grams of a sample roving, and I loved spinning it. It's very nice and also very pretty, I think. To be honest, I personally was not sure about this combination, but my daughter picked it out, so I happily obliged and started knitting. And I think it looks very cute. So the yarns are very different in thickness. That's why they look, the cuff looks a bit funky compared to the leg, but I think it's going to be fine in the end. The colorway of the Mondim yarn is A579. And what else? I'm using my standard sock knitting needles, which are 2mm needles that correspond to a US 0. I'm not really sure how many stitches I casted on for her. She's 8 years old, almost 9, but I'm going to put it up for you on the screen in case you're interested, and I'm also going to link all of my Ravelry project pages for you in the description box. And lastly, let's talk a little bit about dream knitting and acquisitions, because I'm very much in the mood for fall knitting now, and I recently received quite a large order from Honor Air, who sell the beautiful unspun Nutiden yarn. And let me show you what I got and what I plan to make with it. So I ordered 500 grams of the colorway Nogran. So that was from the August update, which is a beautiful light brown or very dark beige. It sometimes even looks pink, which I quite like, and I'm planning to make a cardigan with it. And I also got the colorway Vidunder, which is this beautiful dark bluish green or teal, I'm not sure. It has a dark gray brown undertone, and I would love to make a cardigan with this one as well. And I also got I think they call it a surprise package, where you get at least 200 grams of yarn, but you do not know which colorways you are getting. So they could be like some older colorways, some new colorways, some mixtures, and it's always very exciting. So this is the second time I ordered a surprise bag like that one, and I got these Lucky Charms, I think they are called, and this is the Vidunder as well. I think this is the colorway Dig, also from the August update, but that was I think that was already sold out in the Patreon shop update. And then I have those colors. I am not really sure. These two might be from a previous collection, but I'm not 100% sure. And these might be some ones for September. Not positive, but I am very much in love with all the colors, and I am planning to knit the Nogran cardigan with a bit of color work at the bottom hem and the sleeve cuffs, and then I'm probably going to incorporate some of these colors down there. We'll see. I will for sure talk about it in a future episode. And if this wouldn't be enough Nutiden yarn, I even got some more. So back in May of this year, I think there was a collection with a colorway in it called Tepa, which means garden path. And it is this beautiful neutral with pink and green flecks. And I think it looks absolutely beautiful. I got a sample in my previous surprise bag of it, and I loved it. I used it to make a pair of Hilja socks from Miss Evil Knits. Going to put up a picture for you so that you can see. And when the shop update came, I wasn't sure. I didn't have a specific project for the Tepa in mind, but I liked it so much, and I was going back and forth and didn't really know. And then, as it is so often the case with Nutiden yarn, it was sold out, and I was quite bummed. And I kept thinking about the Tepa because it looks so spring-like and just so special to me. And when I was on Instagram a couple of weeks ago, I suddenly saw someone reaching out to their audience, asking for if someone would be interested in purchasing 300 grams of Tepa because she didn't want it anymore. And this was Nora from Red Riding Hat, and she's even based in Germany like I am. So I immediately reached out and said that I would love to get the Tepa, and I was looking for exactly this amount, which was awesome, and what a coincidence. So I purchased it from her and it arrived shortly after. So thank you so much again, Nora. I am not sure what I'm going to make with it. I think I'm going to keep it until the spring because it looks just so spring-like to me. And the patterns I am currently considering are the Pressed Flowers cardigan by Amy Christoffers. I also really like the Garden pullover by Annika Strick, which has this beautiful lace motif. And the Rib Wave pullover by Joanna Ang is something that I would imagine would look very beautiful with this yarn as well, maybe held together with a strand of mohair. And one more pattern that I'm currently thinking about is the Shorty by Anne Wenzel. We'll see, I have not decided yet, but I'm so excited that I was able to get the teppa, although it was sold out, and that I get to make something with it. So those are all my acquisitions for now. Like I said, I'm so excited for fall now and all the fall knitting plans. In fact, I filmed a whole video about everything I would like to knit this fall. You can find it here in case you're interested. And let me know what you are currently knitting or planning to make this fall. I would love to know. Please leave me a comment. Until next time, bye guys!